Hello there, this is Ethan with Warringah Media. Today we are at the Kununurra Leisure Centre to do Close the Gap Day for 2021. What does Closing the Gap Day mean to you?
What do you think Closing the Gap Day means to you?
Taryn Cox from the Kimberley Community Legal Service.
Natasha Story, Community Engagement Leader with Bernardi Binya Yarabsal Corporation.
I guess being Indigenous myself, I think it impacts me on a personal level. The life and health expectancy of our mob up here and all over Australia, I guess, does impact. That's my family and friends and that. And I guess community events like this to help promote the Closing the Gap campaign is so important, I think, for us to share and educate people, I guess.
It's about closing a lot of the gaps that we have with social issues, health issues, educational issues. A lot of all of the above around really making impact for our mob to really strive to have better lives.
Closing the Gap Day to me is all about bringing countrymen together, trying to lower the life expectancy that our mob face, and just trying to bring our mob that little bit higher to try and walk both paths of Western and Indigenous life.
The importance of bringing together cultures and understanding in terms of who we are and how we work together as one, and be very much appreciative of who we are as Australians. And I'm now talking about that from a number of different perspectives. We have Aboriginal people, the importance of their value, how long they've been here, and really knowing that how important it is in terms of their culture and how we move forward together as one.
So do you think that Australia can close the gap?
So you think Australians can close the gap? Can you point out how we can all work together to close the gap? Do you think Australians can close the gap?
Look, I think it starts in community. So, as I said before, Kimberley has their own challenges. They have their own solutions, but they also need a Kimberley approach to address any of these on the ground.
I I guess, yeah, as I mentioned, community events like this, educating people, being aware of the issues. Part of my organisation, KCLS, part of our jobs is to help people with their housing issues and debts, and I think a lot of those would impact on your mental health. So I think it's important to be able to share knowledge and know that these organisations that's here today are really, it's really important for the community to know that it's out there and we're all here to help people in whatever way we can.
I think if we keep going, we'll be able to. I think we're doing a good job of it so far, but events like this and organisations and networks like this, I think, are what's going to help us close the gap.
Great.
I believe they can, and more so because of a number of reasons. One, as we're educating our younger generation and integrating them. Secondly, because of the multicultural society that we live in, where we understand differences. We've come from a past where things were very much white fellas' way. It's no longer like that. It's very much now about respecting who people are and how we work together. And I certainly see a stronger collaboration in terms of coming together.
And why is Closing the Gap Day so important?
Why is the Closing the Gap important to you?
It's absolutely critically important. It's what makes Australia who it is and the strength of Australia.
Yep.
It's about us being one and being recognised as one across the globe, as much as across Australia.
As an Indigenous person myself, who comes from an Indigenous woman, and I have an Indigenous, child myself, it's relevant to us. It affects us, and it affects all of our life. It affects everyone around us. So I think that closing the gap is important because it's our future generation that are going to come in and help us change.
So you think Closing the Gap Day is working? Do you think we can, Closing the Gap is working?
Look, at a regional level, with stakeholders coming together, showing their commitment around trying to address some of the issues around the closing the gaps, all the indicators that they have under the reform. But I guess it's important to come together in collaboration. It's not one individual, one organisation, or can complete this. We need to be working collaboratively together.
Well, I think it is. What I'm finding from my interaction in working with Aboriginal people, there's certainly a stronger sense of having a sense of belonging and being respected for who they are. So in my organisation, I'm very clear with my people. Understand who we're working with and how we work with them, and be very respectful around those sorts of things in terms of understanding the culture. We do that for everybody else, and it's very important that we do that for Aboriginal people.
Yep.
What do you expect for future improvements?
What do you expect the future to be improved?
To make sure that all the organisations, all the people that are trying to close the gap, making sure that they use holistic and culturally appropriate solutions. Otherwise, what's the point?
I think the future can improve with our emerging leaders coming through, who will have a strong set of experiences or skills to be really good decision makers on the ground, and being able to work in collaboration about improving the things that matter to our mob on the ground.
where would you say that the gaps are still very much existent?
Okay, so where would you say that the gap is mostly still in existence?
I think there's quite a lot of ones. The priority reform around ACO sector development, I think, does exist, and we know there's work to be done to improving skill sets around our leadership.
I would say education, I would say public education. I still think they're lacking a bit. Private education, you're getting a little bit more of language and law and stuff mixed in there. But I would have to say public education, but we are getting there.
Thank you for talking to us today.
Thanks.
Thank you, Antonia, for coming and talking to Warringah Media today.
An absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for doing this interview with me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for talking to us.
Cool, no worries.